this is something we've made note about the last few games, but so we get the ball coming out of the second half. 4 straight games of going 3 and out. I know today was a little different. We had the first down, but they call the offensive PI unworthy, so we end up having to redo the play. We don't get it. But 4 straight games coming out of halftime with a 3 and out. And this specifically was different because Rashard Smith actually gave some juice on the kick return. That was a great field position he got us into. And then we respond with that great field position by Rashard Smith on a special teams that doesn't get big-time returns ever, but we finally got one of those. And what do we do with that field position? We go 3 and out and punt the ball. JD, what I know people want to place blame on it's Nagy's fault, it's Andy Reid's fault. Halftime adjustments. What are you seeing that we're lacking? The fact that we're coming out 4 straight games and not doing anything with the ball on that first possession after halftime.
I don't know, man. It's one or two things. It's either when you come out, you're not starting it off with some juice. Because sometimes it's the thing. It is. You sit in the locker room and you come out, you know you got to get going. You got to warm your legs up and, you know, you just got to get back in the game. It's that halftime set where you take your little time to try to get all the adjustments. You got to come back out, man. You just got to – it's a mentality. It really is. It's just not the players. It's the coaches as well. So if they're not giving you something that you can be successful with, then it's tough. It's hard. Because it's like, man, what play is it? What is this? Like, what are we running? And it's like, is this what the adjustment is? But like you said, the one on Worthy making that call, I thought it was good. I think it was a good call, but it takes you away from it. And that's like that down of that momentum coming out at the half, man. We don't do a very good job of that. And sometimes I think it's something you had to work on in practice. Like coming out at the half, what are we starting with? Do we try to go straight for the jugular, or are we just systematically saying, let's move the chains from here and set the tone now, right? By doing things a little bit different, putting guys in better positions. But I agree with you, Marcus. It is underwhelming to watch when we come out at the half what we do.
It's almost like we put so much effort into scheming the first half during the week, and we need that lead after scheming up that game plan, and we don't have a lot of bullets left other than winging it and adjusting on the fly and hoping we can just score a couple times to keep the game where it is. But the problem with that is many problems with that. But one huge problem is if for whatever reason you're scoring field goals instead of touchdowns, which has bit us a lot this year, or if anything bad happens on one of those drives, you're screwed. That great game plan you had, it gave us 3 instead of 7, and that's why we lost last week. Or that's why, that's why we've lost certain weeks in the past and not put up the points that we should have been like last week. So it's,
Well, and I also think it's weird about it is too, it's like outside the Colts game, because I think the Colts took the ball. They wanted the ball first. But most of it looking, we're a defer to second half kind of team. And you would think a team that defers the second half would be like, okay, well, we want to get the ball coming out of the second half because we're going to have better in-game adjustments than you. So we'll have the ball coming out of the second half. And it's like, well, it seems like we're not prepared for it. That's the part that's weird. It's like, one thing, we were a team that likes to get the ball first. No, we actually like to be the team coming out of the second half with the ball. And it's like, that's what you choose to do with it. I mean, it's four straight games of 3 and outs. Just wild.
It's, it was disappointing because you couldn't get no points before the half. And you was in a position, and then you get a holding call on and Josh that puts you out of field goal position. If you're able to get points for the half, you go in with a clear mind, like, yeah, okay, here we go. Now we're gonna double dip when we come back out, do it again and score. So it really kind of it changes maybe some of your thinking as well, what you're going to do. I just know this as far as being a coach. When you get into it, you start talking about some of the things like, okay, second half adjustments, what we're looking at. What were they running more so in the first half? What do you think we're going to get the second half? A little bit of this, how were they responding, or, how were they lining up against such and such? And so everybody gives you all the information at the half. So once you go through and you decide, okay, our scheme coming into this half, what do we have to do better? And it just seems to me like we don't have an answer. And Tage, if they're doing that, which I kind of find it hard to believe that, like you're just flailing, like, I hope we get two touchdowns. We're in a bad way then. If we're thinking that, we're in a bad way. If we're sitting there saying, man, we got to get 2 touchdowns and then we'll figure it out. That's a bad deal. But I don't think that's where we are, man. I don't know. It's a head scratcher for me.
Looking at, as Teja mentioned, the injuries on the offensive line. So at one point in the game, Josh Simmons hurts his wrist on that big play that we end up scoring at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. That big play that Rice gets us down to their territory. Apparently, Kareem Hunt chipped a defender, and while he chipped that defender, Josh Simmons' hand was engaged with that defender, and that was where the left wrist injury comes from for Josh Simmons. He ended up going off the field. And they were ruled questionable, and then shortly thereafter was ruled out for the game. So that's where the Josh Simmons injury is. Juwan Taylor came into the game with an elbow injury, ends up hurting it early on in that game. Jalen Moore goes to right tackle. Obviously, Caliendo was started for over Trey Smith. But then Wanya Morris comes in for the left tackle spot. JD, obviously, we know that Wanya Morris was a right tackle pretty much coming out of college. That was like his bread and butter. Why don't you think they moved Jalen Moore to left tackle once Josh Simmons was done for the game? Was it just because he already started out that game at right tackle? I was like, no need to change at this point. And how did you think Wanya looked there at left tackle? Because I saw a few times he got kind of bulldozed.
I knew he was going to say it. You just put me out there. What do you think? You just got bulldozed.
Because as a fan who watches this, right, I see those are things I see, right? But you're looking at technique, you're looking at other things. You're not just seeing the plays where he does get blown up. But what did you see from him outside of obviously a few of the plays I just mentioned?
That was it. I mean,
any predictions for the fight? Pain.
Yeah. Prediction? Pain. No, man. That sums it up. What I saw, man. I just, I don't know why they didn't put Jalen Moore out there. That didn't make any sense for me. I mean, that's his position. He plays them both, and so I would have assumed he would have been the next guy up, but apparently he wasn't. So I don't know if something was going on with him too. We don't know. We just don't know, brother.
Well, Simmons in a cast and a sling, so you're gonna see a lot more pain soon.
No, I think at a full game, I think they would move Jalen Moore.
That's true. Well, he'll be a right tackle then if Taylor's not back.
I think I trust Wanya at right tackle more than I trust him at left tackle. That was it. He had to learn left tackle because he was a right tackle primarily coming out of college. Again, he was a third-round pick. I mean, I'm not trying to say Wanya's going to all of a sudden be an all-pro guy, but he was an early-round pick at that right tackle spot. We just chose to make him a left tackle.
Just don't get bulldozed. How about that? That's my ceiling for what I want out of him. Just don't get bulldozed.
I got a text from former Chiefs player Tyler Thigpen today. He said, "Stop the slant." End of my rant. That's what he said. And yes, that comes back to it. McDuffie got dominated today. And I think that will show you a little bit as to why maybe people want to say do not pay him. And also, too, what is our secondary supposed to do when our defensive front cannot get a single lick of a pass rush? But sure, Lamb and Pickens were getting slants and inside position on us all day long. What are you supposed to do when you can't get a freaking pass rush? I mean, and then also, too, when you go from a lull, you score the first quarter, two scores, second and third quarter, not a freaking point. What the hell is Stevenson supposed to do? You're out there at 3 and out every other time. What are you supposed to do? So that's kind of my initial rant. I just wanted to get out there, but I'm pretty disgusted with the product I saw today. So Teja, quick thoughts. I know JD will be joining us shortly, but just quick thoughts.
You're going to hear a lot about officiating, but I think you can talk about officiating without blaming it on officiating. So I'm going to mention it. I'm going to talk about it. We'll talk about a lot of things. It wasn't the reason why we lost, but it certainly played into it. It was poorly played. It was poorly officiated. They beat us in a lot of categories today. The categories that we're used to winning, they beat us in. They had more first downs. They had more total yards. more yards per play, obviously, more passing yards. They're better on third and fourth. Well, we tied in fourth. Time of possession barely beat us just because from that last drive. Penalties, they scorched us. We had 10 for 119. They had 7 for 50. Red zone. We actually, so ironic. We finally beat a team in the red zone. We were 3 for 3 and they were 2 for 4. And, that wasn't our Achilles heel tonight. We cleaned that up and got worse at everything else. How about that?
Yeah, the penalties, and again, you're right. We can talk about penalties without blaming it on them. I'm not going to go and make an AI image of a referee with a Cowboys jersey on. I'm not going to do that. But when a receiver's initiating contact with their guy on a comeback or a hitch route, and our quarterback's on the ground each time, the fact that you come away from this game and say there's only one team that had an OPI throughout the game, only one team did, you would think the Cowboys, if you just watched the game and you didn't know who was called on what, if you just thought who had the OPI in this game, the offensive pass interference, well, it wasn't the Cowboys, it was us. We were the lone team that had an offensive PI called against us this game. Cowboys didn't have it. And they're the ones initiating contact. They're the ones shoving our cornerbacks down. We get to the nitty gritty when JD comes on as to why. But man, this is I don't understand how not one of those was called on them. And I'll say most of them probably shouldn't have been called in general. And some of them came out late too, from the refs upfield, even when the refs right there calling it, not saying anything about it. I really didn't understand that at all. I think it's wild, honestly.
It's funny. The OPI did get called on them on Ferguson for blocking when he threw the ball wasn't even the worst OPI I saw from them all night. That's the funny thing. What he did was, he was blocking, but I mean, look, when you have, it's funny too. I almost get the sense that Romo and Nance were told not to freak out about officiating. I feel like Romo was harder on officiating last week, but this was way worse officiated game. What's his name came on, and he said multiple times they stopped bringing him on too because it's a joke at that point. When you have two guys fighting, just let them fight. I feel like DPI should be called when a receiver's trying to run a route and you're impeding him from running a route, right? But that's not what Lamb and Pickens are doing. They're not running a route. They're initiating contact. When you initiate contact, you shouldn't get the contact call. That's all. I'm not saying, it's cheap and, it's funny. I almost think I saw this on Twitter. I almost feel like this was the league trying to prove to the entire world that they don't call stuff for the Chiefs. In a way, it was like, oh, you think we rig it? Watch this. And they, I don't want to hear that anymore. People want to make fun of us for crying about refs. Who are the last franchise should be crying about refs? Okay, maybe we are, maybe we aren't. But I don't want to hear about Chiefs get gifted things all the time now. That let that die. That should die on the vine now.
I'm one of those, man. I really try not to get on the refs. But I told my brother Duke, I said, man, they're killing us down there in Dallas. They are killing us with some of these calls. And it seems so lopsided with what we were just having. I mean, just the holding calls. Obviously, it was some that was blatant, but some of this, the pass interference and stuff, man, they just didn't call it both ways. I didn't see it that way. And it seemed like the refs was on the other side, man. They just kept being in their ear and throwing flags. And it seemed like it always came from their sideline. Never came from anywhere else. It was always from their sideline. The refs on that side. So,
it was even a couple guys, a couple officials close to the call who didn't call it. It was the backside ref who would come in and call it, and was like, that guy right there to clear view, and he didn't call anything. So why do you think the backside ref can call that? I just got confused. And a lot of deliberation and talking amongst the refs. I don't think I've seen this much talking with the refs, with coaching in a long time. Just a lot of conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure, man, but it did seem like they were talking to a few calls, obviously. Of course, when they sit there and say, "Oh, what do you think up there in New York and all this?" and you hear things that I'll give you one case in point. The offensive pass interference on Xavier Worthy. That's one of the most ridiculous calls I've seen. He took his defensive player, and he can't control him. He can't control the defensive player where he goes. And he didn't run the pick. It was the defensive player that ran the pick on his guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they called it offensive pass interference like it's a pick play. Like that's.
And Scarator's logic for that was ridiculous, by the way.
Huh?
Scarator's logic for that was ridiculous. Like, even though he didn't come in contact with the player, I still see why it was called. Like, wait, what? That's like saying like a guy shooting a 3-pointer, like if his own. If you don't touch the guy, it's not a freaking foul. What do you mean? Like that's it. There's no other like. Oh, I guess I see why. This isn't logic class. This is a football game.
And it was like almost an anticipatory call because it was like, were you anticipating that Worthy was going to be the guy that actually physically did the pick, and it wasn't. It was the defender that did that. And so sit there, like you said, trying to logically reason something like that, man, was just, it fell on his face. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that on a call.
No.
It's there or it isn't.
Listen, and that's up there, New York caping for their guys on a call like that.
Oh, 100%. That's
exactly what that was. And I just, as far as that with the refs, I think it was just a bad game called. There's a couple of times there's like, hey man, let the guys play. And they should have let the guys.
Yeah, he even said that at one point. He was still capping, but at the same time, he was like, when two guys are fighting, I tend to just let them play.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. Now let's talk the realness. Okay. Let's talk the realness here.
Okay.
There was times that the offensive line gave Pat some time, and I don't know if guys just wasn't getting open, but there was times he held the ball in his hand too much, and he got sacks, he got ran around, and it's not like just do your outlet to the running back or just get the 5 yards. We had to get the deep pass. Like, we're just trying to move the chains. Like, that's part of what we're trying to do, because what it ultimately does is it puts us at a worse predicament than it was before he was running around. And so when we start doing that, that's where we really shoot ourselves in the foot. And it was kind of, I can't quite understand what was being called. And when I watch the film, but I need to see what it is, what routes guys are not getting open on. There was a couple of times guys are open and Pat just missed them. I mean, seriously, it was the one that he threw to, I think it was Rice in the end zone, and Travis Kelce ran right open. There was a couple of times I've seen that. The Pat he didn't go through his progression. That could have been obviously because of some of the pressure he was getting, not having his guys. You've seen his guys off his line just go down, seeing some of their pressure. But I think some of the decisions he was making, man, was just ill-advised. Now, defensively, and I've said this, I've said it all year pretty much, but we have a very young secondary. Sometimes we lack positioning and communication. And guess they exploited that. They went after Jamari Commerce, went over top. Jaden Hicks is supposed to be the deep safety on that one, left Connors over on by himself. But I was saying to our guys out there that CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens was running a master class slant clinic on our guys. And a lot of that where you could let guys.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.